Okay, everybody. Obviously, this is a somber episode of Depot's Den. This is one that's going to suck. We're all going to be pissed off about it, but we're going to try and get through this together within my next half hour or so of doing this podcast that I've always loved and appreciated. And I always like doing this, but woof, another year as a Buffalo Bills fan that goes down as a year of where we have to wait till next year. Basically, that's what it has always come down to. Wait till next year. And I think that a lot of Bills fans are personally sick of it. I think that when it comes down to it, when is it going to be the time that the Bills will actually get past the Chiefs? I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to try not to get angry about this. I might. This is my show. I love my football team and I love what I do for a living. I get to work with WGR 550 and be able to talk about a sports team for a living. Not a lot of people can do that. I get to. And this is my podcast to where I get to really appreciate what we get to talk about. And obviously, this is going to be another season where we're thinking about what in the hell went wrong. Sigh. That's basically what I should have titled this. Sigh. The Bills once again end their season to the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. It is the third time out of 4 seasons that the Bills have made the playoffs and lost to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And this is the third straight time that they've lost in the divisional round. They lost in 2021, where the 13 seconds game, probably one of the best football games ever. And then all of a sudden, it just goes to crap. And then you had last year probably a burnt out Bills team that went in against the Cincinnati Bengals and were just kind of just emotionally drained. And it showed. We get into now this season, you're 6-6. You're basically looking at you're going to miss the playoffs this year. You come back, you finish off the regular season winning every single one of your games. You win the division. You get 2 home playoff games. And the best part was Patrick Mahomes, that guy that has never played on the road in the postseason, his first road playoff game was here, was in Buffalo. And the Bills still couldn't do it. This is something that needs that I don't know what the answer is. There's not a one problem. There's like, oh, this one problem will fix everything. Because it won't. But when you get to a situation where you have arguably one of the best quarterbacks ever, I'm not going to say he's definitely right now, he's probably the second or third best quarterback in the NFL right now. And then you add that with, oh, now you got basically the guy who has stopped you for so many years from reaching your ultimate goal, and that is the Super Bowl. You got him in your own building. You got him right where you want it. It's cold. The weather is bad. Bills Mafia shows up and is loud and is very, very vocal, and you still can't beat him. You still cannot beat him. Great. Of course, my phone decides to screw around with me when I'm trying to do a podcast. apologize for that. This is what happens when it comes to live. This is basically a live show. What else is there, really? What else is there to do with the Bills? If you have a comment on what your thoughts were on the season or what your thoughts were on um, the game against Kansas City, I know it's kind of older because it's a Wednesday and the game happened on Sunday. But please tell me, give me a comment. I'll try to, if I see it, I'll make sure to reach out to it and try to give you my best answer for it. But again, another season where the Bills just do not know how to stop Patrick Mahomes is the most frustrating thing that there could ever be. You had Patrick Mahomes where you wanted him. You had him on the road and you couldn't get it done. Like I said, it's another season where the Bills find a creative way to lose a football game in the postseason. We talk about wide right. I'm not going to say wide right 2.0. I'll get to that in a little bit. But we got home run throwback, Music City Miracle. We got the just we got wide right. We got 13 seconds. We got blowing a 16-0 lead against the Houston Texans. And yet we still cannot find a way to get past these guys. It's so frustrating. The fact that we have gotten so far. We had this just almost what, in my personal opinion, might have been better if the Bills had just maybe had missed the playoffs. Because now, after losing this game, you're now picking 28th in the draft rather than picking, I don't know, maybe 15 or something like that. No, you're still going to play, and oh, you're going to probably hear me pause a lot to try and I'm going to try my best not to yell at this game. But Mahomes had his worst statistical season. We look at this game or this season from the Chiefs, and you're thinking, you got Mahomes where you want him. You got him basically possibly winning, possibly getting him on the road to the postseason, which you did. You freaking did. You got him on the road in the postseason, and guess what? He still found a way to beat you in your own backyard. And that's probably the most frustrating part about this, is that we have gotten to a point where we can't beat the Chiefs for some odd reason. Don't know why, but we just can't. We could beat them in the regular season where, you still have another week. But when it comes down to the important matchups, it all falls apart. It all falls apart when it comes to this team. And again, we're talking about next year. I'm not going to say the Bills are cursed or the Super Bowl window is closed, because as long as you have number 17 as your quarterback, you will always have a chance to win. And that's what I truly believe. Just finding another way to lose, basically. Finding another way to lose. Allen, I thought, even though if you look at the yardage, didn't really have a lot of like didn't look like a really great game for Josh Allen. But if you look at it, I thought Josh played tremendously. I thought that Josh was played really good. He went 26 of 39 for 186 yards and a touchdown. My issue is he averaged 4.8 yards per pass. That is not okay. That, I think, is really the big fault of this loss, and why the Bills lost, was because you had basically a player that could be he could be the next Jim Kelly, the Bills. with Josh Allen. He could get you to the Super Bowl, but then you keep running into a wall that is Patrick Mahomes. You keep running into the same freaking issues. It's not about the pass rush. Here's the and saying getting to Mahomes. And I heard this on at my station, I believe yesterday or on Monday. In the 3 playoff games the Bills have faced Patrick Mahomes, the 2020 AFC Championship game and the 21-23, 2021-2023 divisional round, they had not turned him over and have not sacked him. That is a huge problem. Now, what's your answer? It's not going to be, let's go out and draft a pass rusher, or let's go out there and, I don't know, maybe try and get a cornerback or a linebacker. No, 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 no. What you need is wide receiver help. And you have a wide receiver class that is deep. I did see I put out a tweet on my Twitter at Evan Depot 2 if you want to leave me a comment. And I put, what do you want to see going into the off season? I have Chris, who's Chris Depot. I know that's my cousin Chris DePasquale. Wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. Yes, absolutely. I want wide receivers. I do not want like a wide receiver in like the 4th round or something like that. I want a 1st or a 2nd round wide receiver. That's what I want if I'm a Bills fan. That's what you should get, is a 1st or 2nd round wide receiver, because you saw what the Chiefs did. They had Travis Kelce, who is obviously incredible. But the problem is that when it got to the point where they did not have an elite wide receiver, it got to the point where it didn't matter anymore, where you saw Patrick Mahomes struggle and him throwing, hissy fits on the sidelines after Kadarius Toney lined up offsides. So many drops, and Travis Kelce can't do everything, clearly, and that is the problem. The problem is that the Bills could not do anything, and that's what it showed. They could not do anything on defense. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that the linebacking core was hurt, and you don't have Tre'Davious White, and Rasul Douglas is not where he is. He wasn't 100%. But also your pass rush was 100% healthy. That is the issue. And they did not get any pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And that is the most frustrating part. That's the most frustrating part. The inability for the Bills to realize that they needed to stop running the ball is a problem. When they started off the first half, pretty good in the first half. Pretty good. But it did not accumulate to eventually, winning. Just it did not accumulate, because then eventually James Cook averaged 3.4 yards per carry, 18 carries for 61 yards. James Cook, and also he dropped some passes. We need, as Bills fans, to know that this is now a time where we're like, no, we don't need a tight end to basically cause, I don't know. We don't need a tight end that can be a pass catcher, or we don't need a running back that can catch balls. We need wide receivers. My friend Richard, he comments on the show. Thanks for Richard. It went downhill, and it did. Started off at the first, basically, they did not make the halftime adjustments that they should have. And that's a problem. They did not run down and basically was like, you know what? Instead of running the ball, how about we throw the ball? And that's a problem. The Bills have an issue at wide receiver. Khalil Shakir, to the end of the season, looked like your best wide receiver, and he clearly was. And I don't know what's wrong with Stephon Diggs. And if someone's going to try to say he's a problem, get him out of here. I don't need to go through that like we did last offseason. He is fine. He just needs to get. This is when Brandon Beane needs to get in here and say, you know what? We had Stephon Diggs, and he did not do enough. And that is our problem because he was double teamed a lot. A lot of people went just it just got to the point where it was just like, oh my gosh, what else is there to do? What is there to do? Now, he did miss that one catch that I don't know, it would have been maybe even an 80-yard play that probably would have taken the Bills into the end zone. And he dropped it. And that's on him. And that's a problem. But you know what? Sometimes drops are part of the game, and sometimes that's what you need to get through. Is you need to get through those drops, and the Bills didn't. The Bills could not capitalize on some of the Chiefs compared to like the Chiefs where they were able to capitalize on mistakes. And for my personal opinion, I think that it has gotten to a point where we need to question possibly McDermott. We're not the only person that's not being questioned is Josh Allen, because Josh Allen is the reason why that team has been is like I heard someone compare this. He was like Dominic Hasek with the 90s and saying that this was an all-world player comparing Josh Allen to Hasek, but you don't have the surrounding pieces that were there to give you. Yes, that they ended up making to the Cup final. And I expect the Bills to make it to the Super Bowl eventually. But if this keeps happening every single freaking year where you just cannot find ways to beat Patrick Mahomes, I'm reading your new latest message to me, Richard. At his job, he's saying some people are blaming the Tyler Bass, some people are blaming Josh Allen. None of those people need to be blamed for. Neither Josh nor Tyler Bass. First off, Josh Allen played incredible. And if anybody's got a problem with Josh Allen, then you obviously didn't really watch the game because Josh Allen played great. I think that the way that they went about this game was wrong. They went into this game thinking, we're not going to be able to hold Patrick Mahomes down. So guess what? We'll just try and hold the ball and run the clock. And it still didn't work. It still did not work. And in my personal opinion, no one should ever blame Tyler Bass because the Bills should never have been in that position in the first place. People I've heard are giving, threats to Tyler Bass where he had to get off social media. Those people are the most ridiculous people and are probably mad that they lost a bet and they're blaming Tyler Bass for it. It's almost like when you're blaming Scott Norwood for the reason the Bills lost Super Bowl 25. No. Scott Norwood is not the reason the Bills lost Super Bowl 25. The Buffalo freaking Bills and their offense is the reason why they lost because they were too dumb enough to realize, oh, we should probably be running the ball in that game. You had Thurman Thomas, 135 rushing on 15 carries, averaged 9.5 yards every time he touched the ball. And you were in a position to win the game. And here's the thing. Even if Tyler Bass kicked that field goal, the Bills still would have lost. You think that That wasn't to take the lead. That was to basically just tie the game. Do you think know how easy it would have been for Patrick Mahomes with like a minute 43 left in the game, 2 timeouts, to be able to just get in field goal range and have Harrison Butker, who is one of the best kickers in the NFL, it would kick a chip shot. That would have been so easy. And even if they got to overtime, I don't know if the Bills would have probably been able to march down the field and score a touchdown, or both teams could have tried touchdowns, but then it goes down to sudden death, and the I just don't see the Bills stopping them. They only forced one punt the entire game. And the other time that the Chiefs didn't score was on the drive where there was a fumble through the end zone. But yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, and I am applauding myself for getting this far with how bad this team looked. Again, do not blame Tyler Bass for the loss. I don't think that Tyler Bass is the reason why the Bills lost this game. Because, yeah, he was not playing good down the stretch. He had a blocked field goal and another missed field goal in the wild card round. But it's not always the kicker's fault. And people need to understand that it's not always the kicker's fault. So the Bills, I thought, had a great season. And now we get to the offseason, and the biggest thing is going to be wide receiver. Wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. That's what they need. And that's going to be the huge issue, or the huge thing that they need to work on, is making sure that they get wide receiver help, because Stephon Diggs, Khalil Shakir is not going to cut it. The fact that one injury from your wide receiver core, and now you're basically putting in your gunner at wide receiver on the offense, is not okay. Now, not having Gabe Davis did hurt, but I think that this season was not good. How would I compare this season from last season? Pretty similar, because you had basically you got your division title. You got the 2 seed. You got 2 home playoff games. But again, the result is still the same. A loss in the divisional round. The offense, I don't want to say the offense got worse, but it almost looked like it did. You have one of the best wide receivers. Now, yeah, I'm happy that they got the running game going. But to me personally, I think that the passing game needs to be more of a focus than the running game. And I know all these analysts are like, oh, the Bills, what the Bills need to do is run the ball. No, absolutely not. I'm not saying that running the ball, they should never run the ball ever, but what got them to where they are is by throwing the ball. What happened in the Chiefs 13 seconds game? Did you see Devin Singletary running for 200 yards rushing? No. You saw Josh Allen playing like an alien and Gabe Davis having a 200-yard receiving game. That's where I look at it from a standpoint. Do I think that Joe Brady is going to be the next offensive coordinator? Possibly. I'm not sure. I would like to explore other options. I feel like Eric Bieniemy, if he doesn't get a head coaching job, I would like to see Eric Bieniemy maybe be the next offensive coordinator for the Bills. That would be amazing. You got the guy that led Patrick Mahomes to 2 Super Bowl victories. Get him on my staff. And I would like to see McDermott start. I didn't think he did that bad of a job calling defensive plays, but also I would like to see more of a, I don't know. I think I would like to see him bring in another outside person to run his offense. I don't know if Joe Brady's the guy. He might even get a head coaching job. We don't know. And if he does, then you look to outside and find someone else. The Bills, now we're heading into the offseason, need to get younger. I think that that's really the big problem is that the Bills need to get younger, especially at places like wide receiver. And I think that it has been, you got Stephon Diggs, who's going to be going into his age 31 season. You got Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, who are both in the tail ends of their career. And I think that you've got some of your key people are free agents. You got Micah Hyde, Leonard Floyd, Tyrell Dodson, Dane Jackson, AJ Epinesa, Daquan Jones, Jordan Phillips, Tim Settle, Poona Ford, Linval Joseph, Shaq Lawson, Sherfield, David Edwards, Latavius Murray, Ty Johnson, Damian Harris, Cam Lewis, Kyle Allen. I think maybe you keep around, I don't know, 6. Would I like to have Micah Hyde back? Yes. But do I think that they will keep him back? Probably not. Based off of his age, his injury concerns with his neck. I would like Taylor Rapp back personally because I think that Taylor Rapp is young and I think that he is a just as good of a safety as Micah Hyde is. You got to sign Daquan Jones. I think that he was a huge part of your defensive line, and maybe Damian Harris I would keep back and Ty Johnson on a cheap deal. Again, these are going to be whoever you're going to get. They're going to be cheap. They're going to be cheap. That's what it's going to come down to. The Bills have 10 picks. Use all 10 of them. I do not think that the Bills should trade up. If they are going to trade up, I would want to trade up and get a wide receiver. I think that their draft capital could help them in like the second round or the third round because they do have 10 picks this year. I think that that's going to be really important for them. I'll definitely get more into, the draft and my colleague Zach Jones. We'll have him on the show eventually, and we'll talk about the draft. He's like a NFL draft guru who loves talking about the draft. So we'll get him on eventually. So we'll be waiting for that. But now I'm going to get into, talking about the AFC and NFC championship games. Yeah, again, the 6th straight year that Patrick Mahomes is in the AFC championship game. It makes me want to throw up. It makes me think of Tom Brady again, which sucks. It sucks having to think this is now going to be the guy that's going to end up possibly being the reason why you can't get over the hump. I hope it's not, but you never know. I think it comes down to Lamar's legs, and I didn't really hear anything about any huge injuries coming down from Baltimore. I mean, I might have to check their injury report. I don't know if Mark Andrews is going to play. I know that he's been on injured reserve. He might play. I wouldn't be surprised if he would. I think that whoever wins this game, I think probably the AFC is going to win the Super Bowl. Possibly. I don't know. I've been wrong a lot. I've been wrong a lot, and that's okay because that's part of my job. It's okay to be wrong. If we have another Super Bowl with Mahomes in it, I'm not going to say I'm going to boycott it because of Patrick Mahomes being in there. I'm just going to be super annoyed the fact that it's the same old thing, and on the year where you felt like the Chiefs were at their worst and they still managed to make it to the Super Bowl, what else is there? Like, is he going to just make the Super Bowl every year? That's really what it kind of looks like. To the NFC Championship game, the Lions, they have been a great story. Awesome. Dan Campbell, first division title in over 30 years, and the whole world has been just like glamored with the Lions, and I'm sure that a lot of people want the Lions that are the people that are not 49er fans want the Lions in the Super Bowl. I think that this the funny thing is the Lions have more playoff wins this year than they had since their last championship in 1957. Two. That's why I feel like so many people want to see the Lions in the Super Bowl. That would be just such a great story. I will tell you, I think if it's not Baltimore, I probably would root for Lamar Jackson just to see him, and also my one buddy Trent. He's a huge Ravens fan, so I would love to see the Ravens win a Super Bowl just because I know that he would be happy about it. So I think that I think this will be a shootout, and I think it's going to come down to who has the better defense and who will get the most stops, and that's probably going to be the 49ers defense. And I do have the Ravens and the 49ers. I do not believe in this whole scripting where it's the because it's purple and red or whatever, it's Niners, Ravens, whatever, this voodoo crap. I don't believe in that. But what I do believe is that those are the two best teams, and that would be a freaking good Super Bowl. It's hard in reality knowing that the Bills once again missed the championship round for the third straight season and the third time the Chiefs haven't ended their season. But if you're a Bills fan, don't be discouraged by this. You might be discouraged now because you felt like this was their window to get past the Chiefs, and possibly they were the hottest team in football, and it just did not happen. So I will do my very best to make sure that I get out another episode of Depot's Den, recapping the championship games and looking ahead to the Super Bowl. And then eventually we'll start talking some Sabres. Now that the Bill season is over, we'll start talking some Sabres hockey. But again, I absolutely can't thank everybody enough for tuning in. And Richard, thank you for your comments. Everybody who's been listening, I will post this up in a few hours. This will be on wherever you get your podcast. Check it out. It is again Depot's Den, DIPODEN. Well, it's apostrophe S DE Den. So thank you again, and hope to see you guys around. And you've been tuning in to this latest episode of Depot's Den. We'll see.